looking at the last of our 3-part mindset series. And this one is going to focus specifically on the we aspect. So thinking about how we interact with other people, finding triggers in our life, being able to notice those triggers, and different ways that we can kind of calm ourselves down. So in the book, he talks about detecting chaos and rigidity in our life. So I want you to think about, so the first thing that you're going to do is to think about a time where you felt like your life was filled with chaos, or was there a time where you sensed some kind of rigidity? Now, whether that was with you, or maybe it was with somebody else who was being very inflexible. They were, it was a situation where it was very much like their way or the highway. There was no flexibility into how they were thinking and how you were thinking. And then I want you to think about, whether or not something was being misunderstood between you and that other person, whether or not there was a connection, like the connection between the two of you, like a linkage, was being ignored, was it being excluded, and thinking about, how that felt in your body. So even sometimes when you think back to those certain situations, I don't know about you, but I find that if I think back to a situation that was really stressful for me, I can actually feel it in my body again, just like it was happening the first time. And so think about that. Think about where you're feeling it. And then this is the practice that I want you to do. And I want you to try and, as best as you can, sorry, I'm just trying to keep the book flat. As best as you can, see if you can implement this in another time when this might happen again. So what he says is to put one hand on your chest and one hand on your abdomen, and then do some deep breathing. And then I want you to switch that position. So if you start with your left hand on your chest and your right hand on your abdomen, do some deep breathing and then switch it. And then put your right hand on your chest, your left hand on your abdomen, and see which way you feel better. And if there is, if you feel like one sense is a little bit more calming than the other. And he actually did a study, so I thought this was really interesting. He did a study where he had people do the swap, and then he asked how many of them felt better with their right hand over on their chest and their left hand on their abdomen. And the majority of the people felt better when the right hand was on their chest and their left hand was on their abdomen. And there was no connection at all between whether or not you were a left-handed person or a right-handed person. Now, he thinks, so this is his suggestion, he thinks that what's happening is when you have your right hand on your chest and your left hand on your abdomen, you are actually activating that prefrontal cortex. Now, I keep coming back to that prefrontal cortex because we know that this is where a lot of our executive functions are. So if we can teach our kids to do this as well, any way that we can kind of activate that particular part in their brain, it's going to help them with connecting those neurotransmitters. So he thinks what's happening is it's kind of putting a balance and a brakes on that whole fight or flight feeling, and helping us put ourselves into that parasympathetic mode, which is our calming state, and taking us out of that sympathetic mode, which is that fight or flight mode. And that he believes that what's happening is that it's actually soothing our heart and our automatic nervous system. So just, I don't know, something to think about. I thought that was a really cool, and it's an easy thing that we can do. It's a lot about kind of, building those energies, but just, starting with your chest, putting your left hand on your chest, your right hand on your abdomen, applying a little bit of pressure, and then switching, putting your right hand on your chest, your left hand on your abdomen, putting a little bit of pressure, and seeing which one feels better for you. If it feels better with your left, that's fine, but he just thought it was a really interesting statistic that the majority of the people felt more calm when they had their right hand on their chest and their left hand on their abdomen. Try it out. Let me know how it goes. Introduce this to your children. It's not something that you can really do right in the heat of the moment, especially if they're quite high and their emotions are quite high, but teach it to them when they're in a calmer state, and then it might help them to bring themselves back down. So anyway, let me know how it goes.